This is part two of the carnitas, and as you can see, they've been cooking in the slow cooker. I actually cook them overnight, but they don't have to cook more than usually 6 to 8 hours on low. And let's see what we have. You saw kind of what it looks like in the pot. And what I'm going to do first is remove the chunks of meat from the crock pot. I'm just going to take them out, put them on a plate or platter. And you can see it's falling apart as I take it out. It smells amazing. I wish that you could smell this. And as I said, it's falling apart as I'm working with it. There's a few pieces. And this is just some fat I don't need. Now, the original recipe that I used calls to strain off the fat from the drippings in the pan. And I don't like to do that, and I'll show you why as we cook this up. This pork shoulder, and this is from the earlier video I did where I did carnitas and I just seasoned the pork shoulder and put it into the crock pot. The original recipe calls to drain the fat off and then boil it down. I don't like to do that because this is what they call pot liquor. And they call it pot liquor for a reason. It's the good stuff. This is where all the flavor is. And remember, I put some orange juice, some lemon juice, and everything else is dripping from the meat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ladle, and you could pour it in. I'm not going to do all of these pan drippings. I'm going to just do most of it. And so mixed in here is some of the slices of jalapenos that I put in, and it's some lime juice, some lemon juice, and some orange. I'm not doing all of it, but I won't throw this away. And what you do, I will pick out, there's a little bit of the fat, and I will pick that out and just set it aside. The dogs will get that, and they will love me for that. So and you could put it through a strainer to skim that off if you wanted to. But what I'll do with the pot liquor, or the drippings that I put into the pan, is I'm going to put it on a really high heat, and I'm going to let that simmer down. You want it to get really thick. Because you want the natural sugars from the orange juice, the lemon juice, and the lime, because that's what's going to caramelize the meat. So while this simmers, I'm going to saute some onion and pepper, because I want some bell pepper and onion. And I'm going to use my cast iron skillet, and I've got my bacon fat. Now my jar is full because we've cooked 4 packages of bacon. I always bake it in the oven and on aluminum foil on a sheet pan, and then you just drain it out. It does get the oven a little messy, but you just use the self-cleaning cycle, and it's no problem. Far easier than cleaning the stove. So I'm going to put a couple generous tablespoons or so of fat, of bacon fat, into my skillet. And I'm going to put it on a pretty high heat and let that get really nice and hot. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have a lot going at once. I'm going to actually move, now that this is boiling, I'm going to move it back to the back actually. So give me a minute to get arranged here. I'm more comfortable using this and than this burner since it's closer to me, and I don't like reaching over the boiling things. So this is going to boil down and thicken, and this is the bacon fat. And essentially I'm going to throw this in. Now notice that it's getting hot pretty quickly, and I don't have any seasonings. As this gets done, I'm going to add some of these drippings that have boiled down, and it'll have a really nice flavor. So this is onion and pepper. It's one kind of medium onion, and I don't use sweet Vidalia onions anymore. I used to always use those. I don't use those because they're really too sweet. Onions are pretty carby, and so you don't want to go overboard on the onions, or you can get a lot more carbs than you intend to. Okay, so my pot liquor, as I like to call it, is boiling down. I can see it thickening as it goes. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir. There's a couple jalapenos in there. I'm not worried about that. I don't know if you can see, but it's really shiny on top. That's the natural fat from the pork. And you'll see in just a minute how lovely that, it becomes gorgeous. Okay, so while that's happening, I'm going to turn on yet another burner. A lot going here, like a 3-ring circus. Let's hope I can manage it all. I'm going to, instead of putting a lot of bacon fat. I'm gonna put just a little because I don't want anything to stick. And bacon fat's kind of like butter, you can't go wrong. And I love using my cast iron skillet, even though they're heavy. I really do enjoy working with those. Okay, so let's come back to the pork shoulder that I roasted earlier. I'll turn that down just a little bit. So here's the meat, and I'm not going to do all of it at a time because as you can see, it was quite a large pork shoulder. But I'm going to put it in this bowl, and I'm just going to put it in chunks. I don't necessarily want it shredded, but I do want it in chunks. And probably fairly bite-sized pieces. This is probably on the big side, but you want it in pieces about like that, and you can see how incredibly tender it is. It's very moist, and it's just falling apart as I pull it. And I can get my hands in here pretty easily. It's not that hot. There's some natural fat in there, and that's okay. My dogs are staying close by because they know there's going to be some really good leftovers here. And so I just pull it apart into those pieces. It's really very simple. And you could eat it at this point. You don't have to do this step, but if you don't, I'm telling you, you're missing out because this is where the absolute magic happens. Okay, I pulled it in pieces. At this point, my family's probably circling around, asking when dinner is going to be done. So you can see those pieces. The bacon fat is hot. My onions probably need a stir. Onions and pepper. Yeah, those are looking good. They smell good too. I love pepper and onion. And I'm going to give another stir to this, which is getting a lot thicker. Exactly what we want it to do. Okay, now let's go over here, and I probably don't have enough pork in here. And I can add to it as I go, but it is still kind of warm. I just wanted you to see me taking it out of the crock pot. I could have done some of this ahead of time, but I didn't. I warned you that I'm an amateur. Okay, so all that's done, and if I wasn't on camera, I'd be throwing pieces in my mouth. Got that? Okay, so this skillet is hot. This skillet is hot, and the boogeyman is obviously outside. My dog is a 10-pound Morkie, and he loves to bark. Can you pause it? Okay, and we're back without a dog barking. Sorry, Paula Dean never has to put up with this stuff. Okay, so I was just at the point where we're still boiling the pot liquor. It's simmering down, which is perfect. You can just see the flavor in it. The onion and peppers are getting all nice and caramelized, and they're on a fairly high heat. They're getting nice and done. They smell amazing. And I put a little bit of bacon fat in this cast iron skillet, and I've shredded up some of the pork. So I'm going to add it to this, and you can hear that wonderful sizzle. So it's just in the bacon fat. It's already starting to stick, so which is not a bad thing. What I'm going to do, and I'll scoot this over here so I'm closer, is I'm going to ladle some of this out and put it in on the pork. I wish you could smell this. If I ladle out, there's a piece of jalapeno, and that's fine because we like jalapenos. And basically, let it brown up. Because it's on such a high heat, it's going to get crispy, and it's going to cook out really, really fast. And that's where the flavor comes from. So let me turn that down. And there's a lot of fat in this. When I made it the last time and I had the brown bits, my husband said, so what kind of fat did you cook this in? And I basically said, besides putting some bacon fat in the bottom of the skillet to begin with, the other fat I used came from the pork shoulder itself. So really you're browning it in its own juices. And all those wonderful juices that we put in are caramelizing. The orange juice, the lemon, the lime, it's all caramelizing at this high heat. You don't want it to do too fast, and you do want to make sure it has plenty of flavor. So I'm going to add just a little more. And again, this is going to cook down fairly quickly. and it will brown. And I'll stop at this point and let that catch up with me because I did turn the heat down a little bit. And I'll come over here. I'll come back to the vegetables. And what I'm going to do with these vegetables is the same thing. I'm going to add some of that wonderful pot liquor that's been simmered down. And that way I'll have that great flavor on the onion and pepper as well. And I'm going to have to get some more pot liquor in there. In fact, while everything's simmering, let me do that. I've got a dog under my feet, so if I trip and fall, it was the dog. I'm going to put a little more of this on here. And you can hear it simmering. I'll put a little more pot liquor on this. And we're just about ready to eat. And like I said, I could have poured this through a strainer to get out some of the drippings and make it more clear, but it's all just fat and flavor and wonderful stuff, so I'm really not afraid of it. Okay, that's going to continue to simmer. The onions and peppers look great. That's going to cook down. That'll be nice and caramelized as well. And let's go back to our meat. Almost ready to eat. Okay, this is browning. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you're going to have some nice brown crispy bits. And I don't think the heat is even on this, but that's okay. See right there where it's getting brown? There's some brown bits. That is the good stuff. So I'm just trying to get it pretty well smoothed out in the pan. I'll move this over here. When I say brown bits, it's sticking a little bit, but that is the good stuff. Right here. See how brown and crisp that is? This is how you finish up the carnitas. So you've got it in the crock pot. It took me less than 5 or 6 minutes, I think, to put all those ingredients in. Put it on for several hours until it was tender. Now I'm crisping it up in the cast iron skillet. And I'm doing some peppers and onions to go with it. And let me show you real quick while that's finishing how I'm going to serve this. So I have a plate. And I've got some salsa. And this is a Jack salsa. I'll put the salsa on there. I'll put a dollop of sour cream beside of that. I'll take some fresh cilantro, because we love cilantro. I'm a Mexican dude. And this was fresh yesterday. That doesn't look so great today. And I like to use kitchen scissors. They just work really nicely with cilantro. And I did wash all of this earlier. And I probably will put the cilantro, well, I'll put some extra on the plate for flavor. Cilantro is one of those herbs that's difficult to grow, so I generally just buy it. And I'm just going to cut that up. And if you get some of the small stems in there, that's okay. You don't want the thick stems. But again, that's where the flavor is. So cilantro goes hand in hand with Mexican. If you don't like cilantro, it is a strong taste, and not everybody loves it. So if you don't like it, just leave it off. Okay, so there's that. And I've got some cheeses. I'm going to put a little cheese on the side of everything. And this is a queso with jalapeno. I'll put some on each side. I'll put some more on the meat. And this is a Mexican cheddar jack. And I'll put a little there with the cilantro. And let's go over here and see what's going on. Okay, the onions look great. The onion and the bell pepper getting a little brown. You can see that all you have left in the pan is pretty much the fat. It looks really nice. And let's see what's happening with the meat. It looks pretty good. Those are the brown crispy bits. Now this was super, super tender, so it's falling apart more than I'm used to. And it's sticking, which is fine. Just work up those big bits. You're gonna not want to, if it's super, super tender, don't stir it so much because this is looking a lot more shredded. Okay, I think this part is done. So let me pull this up. I've got these, look at that brown crispy bit right there. Man, it's hard not to just throw that in my mouth while I'm cooking. Okay, I'll leave that right there. I'm gonna turn that off so it doesn't burn. And then come back over here. I'm going to get some of these delicious pepper and onions. Put them right there. That may be too many. I'm going to take some of this cheese and sprinkle over. Some of this cheese and sprinkle over. And that's how we would serve carnitas at our house.